Hi everyone, my name is Diana. Welcome back to my sewing room, and today I have a really fun project that I'm going to share with you. It's called Snowdrops, and it is a Studio 180 pattern. It's designed by Haley Tucker, and when you look at it, it looks extremely complicated, but it's not. It is set on point, but there's really only two blocks that make up this whole entire quilt. And what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to break down the individual blocks for you and show you which pieces I used to make the blocks. And I'm going to demonstrate one of the tools that I used to make the blocks today. I also want to tell you about the fabulous fabrics that I had Laurie pick out for me. These are grunge fabrics. These are these are just some of the 40 fabrics that Laurie brought into the shop that are grunge. I sent her a picture of my pattern, and she and I went on FaceTime, and she pulled the pieces for me and said, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? So if you are interested in doing a pattern, but you're not sure about your fabric choices and you're looking online and you're not sure what to do, give the shop a call. Laurie loves to do things like this. You can tell from some of the things that she's done with Costa. She has a fantastic eye for color. She's really good at picking fabrics out, so I highly recommend that you give her a call if you need help picking out your fabrics. So let me go ahead and show you what the two blocks are that go into the quilt. And the first one is this one here, and it's pretty basic. And when you look at it, you can see there's just a center square. There is a V block unit here, and then I've popped the corners off of that, so these are the V blocks. And then the tool that I'm going to demo for you today, this is called the corner beam, and these are these outer blocks here. And this is just one of the blocks that goes in the quilt. And then the second block that goes into the quilt is this one here, and this one is almost identical. You do have your V blocks with the corners popped, and then you have your outside corner beams, but in the center you have a Lemoyne star. And when you look at the pattern put together, you'll be able to tell that it's just these two blocks that make up the quilt itself. So let me go ahead and clear off my cutting table, and I'll come back and I'll demo how to use the corner beam tool. So when we break this block down, like I was showing you before, we've got your V blocks with the corners popped, you have your Lemoyne star, and then you have this corner beam unit here. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about right now. And to make that corner beam unit, you need the corner beam tool. So on this tool, there are two different parts to it. The first part is over here, and this gives you the strip size and square size that you're going to cut to make your center piece and your outside triangles. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sizes on this particular tool that you can make. And you're going to start out with squares and strips, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. And then once you get those sewn together, you come to this side of the tool, and you'll be able to see here that there are lines that you're going to line up with your seam lines. Then you'll rotate your unit, and you're going to use these in your corner. And I'll show you how to line all that up in just a minute. So what I'm going to start out with, I'm going to be making 3-inch finished units. And so for my 3-inch finished units, I look here and I see I need strips and squares cut at 4 inches. So to make this piece here, I just need to cut squares that are 4 inches, and I've already done that. And what I'm going to do is I am going to lay those squares onto my cutting mat, and I am going to line up the squares with the dotted line on my tool. And here's the dotted line that I'm talking about, and then this solid line here goes on the bottom of the square. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a trim. Then I'm going to pull those pieces that I just trimmed away, and I'm going to put that corner right back up at the top there, the corner of the tool right at the top of my fabric, and I am going to rotate my tool until this second dotted line here is laying along the piece that I just cut. And then I'm going to trim that extra piece off, and then I have my center unit, which I personally think looks a little bit like a necktie, and we'll come back to those in just a minute. Then also I'm going to need some 4-inch strips, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer them right sides or wrong sides together, and I actually have mine wrong sides together here. It may be a little bit difficult to see because it is white fabric. With the grunge, you can see there's just a little bit of color on it. It gives it really good depth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut an even side onto my strips here, and I am going to line that part up with the solid line here on my tool. And I'm also going to line the 3-inch finished unit piece here on that. And then I'm going to trim, and that gives me my 2-side triangles. Now, this one is a little bit tricky to actually line up. When you're first putting it together, you go, that can't be right, that looks really weird. But when you sew them together just like this, using a 1/4-inch seam allowance, you are going to end up with a square. And trust me, you want to line this up before you take it to your sewing machine. What you'll do is you'll line it up, and what I try to do is I try to have just a little bit hanging off on each end. So I try to have a little piece here and a little piece here hanging off, and then I'm going to sew it using a 1/4-inch seam allowance. Once I've done that, I now have a unit that looks like this, and I'm ready to trim. So now I'm going to go to this portion of my tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the unit with the pointed end going away from me for the first trim. And I am going to line up my 2 side triangle, or my seam placement lines, excuse me, here, where my seam lines are, and I'm going to line this piece up, this little X here, up where my seam lines intersect, and that gives me my 1/4-inch seam allowance. I'm going to trim, then I'm going to turn my unit 180 degrees, and now I'm going to line up this triangle here that says 3 with my seam lines. I've also got some hash marks here that line up on my seam lines, and then I've also got my unfinished size here, 3.5, to line up on the edges that I've just cut. I'm going to trim, and then I end up with a perfectly sized 3.5 by 3.5 corner beam unit. Now this unit on its own, if you were to do this unit on its own, most of the time I have seen it paper pieced. I have never seen another tool that actually does this, and by using strips and squares, it makes the construction of it very, very simple. And once I'm able to finish putting this quilt together, I am going to put it up on our Wish Stay-at-Home Projects page, so look for that. Lori did a gorgeous job picking out the fabrics, and the grunge fabrics really give it a lot of depth and movement. On Monday, I am going to be using grunge fabrics again. As you can see here, I've got this gorgeous purple and this gorgeous yellow, and Judy actually picked these out for me. Judy's another great person for picking out colors. And the reason I had her do such a high contrast is because I'm going to be doing this pattern called Sweater Weather. And I am going to show you how easy it is to tuckerize a pattern that was not written for Tucker tools. So I hope you enjoyed this little demo of the corner beam tool today and of the Snowdrops pattern. Look for it on our website. The Snowdrops pattern is available. I will be teaching this pattern in the shop. There are quite a few parts to it that can be a little bit tricky and complicated, so it's a fun one to learn with other people. Wanted to remind you that Costa is also doing our Hoop Sisters quilts right now. He's doing the mystery quilts on Thursday, and as far as I know, Sunday they are hoping at 1 p.m. to show off a brand new machine that's going to be coming into the shop. We will continue to do videos for you for as long as we're under stay-at-home orders. Like I told you in my last video, Frank and Lori have decided to keep the shop closed until they feel it's safe to open for both our employees and our customers. We do miss seeing you in the shop, but please come to our Facebook page, our Wish Upon a Quilt Facebook page, and come to our Stay-at-Home Projects page and share what you're working on with us. We can't wait to see you again. Hope you have a great day.